In this presentation, we'll provide a brief introduction to the developmental coda. In previous presentations, we've created a graph for sonata form with our exposition, development, recapitulation, and the subsidiary sections contained therein. We also saw that external sections could be added to the sonata form, specifically the use of an unstable introduction. We see here that it's balanced with alternating between relative stability and instability in the large-scale regions, and that the introduction was outside the normal sonata form as defined by the repeat signs. Now, instead of adding to the beginning, we're going to be talking about adding to the end. So just like we added to the beginning in the form of an introduction, we can add to the end of a form with a large-scale developmental coda. Sometimes this will be called the secondary development. It is common to find small-scale codas at the end of many sonatas. They often serve as brief addenda to the closing sections of the recap, and they usually will balance a small codetta, which would appear at the end of the exposition. This would create a balanced form, and usually these small codas and codettas just served as cadential extensions. However, the developmental coda is different in a few ways. First of all, it only arrives after the recapitulation. It doesn't occur in the exposition. Further, it is a large-scale section rather than a mere cadential extension. So let's take a look at a model of this. Below, we see a large-scale model of the traditional sonata, with the exposition repeated and the development and recap repeated. In a sonata form with a developmental coda, the development and recap are often not repeated because the developmental coda is so long. So we'll take away those repeat signs. In this case, only the exposition will be repeated. After the recap, we will add a new large-scale area. It will be unstable, and we'll call that the coda. So this is what a form with a developmental coda will most typically look like. A repeated exposition, and then a development, a recap, and then a developmental coda that acts as instability, with the second part of the sonata form, development, recap, and coda, not repeated. There are a few aspects and uses of this that we can talk about, but they aren't codified the way that they are with the sonata form. There aren't fixed aspects of the developmental coda like there are with the development. In other words, we're not looking for a pre-core, a core, and a retransition. Instead, it becomes a little bit more idiosyncratic, and we have to get used to how different composers use the developmental coda. So they might use them for different purposes. Some general instances of these include to develop ideas that have not yet been developed to the extent that the composer wishes. We also might want to resolve certain aspects of tension that are as yet unresolved. Both of these are excellent uses for a developmental coda.